Our marriage is in a coffin! It was a typical Thursday night that was about to become not typical at all. My wife Anna and I were working together in the kitchen, as we often do when cooking dinner. She was chopping onions while I was dicing cheese and ham for our omelet when she said something that caught my attention. "Brad, we've been married for almost 7 years and we've always been completely honest with each other, haven't we?" I stopped cutting the ham and replied, "Of course we agreed. It was one of the most important parts of our relationship before we said yes to each other." She turned away from the counter and looked at me thoughtfully. I had met someone. Suddenly, the hair on the back of my neck stood up, like I'd just been electrocuted. "You met someone? What does that mean, that you've met someone?" I asked, even though I was deathly afraid I already knew the answer. "A guy at work. A really nice guy. I had lunch with him." "I'm assuming there's more to the story, so carry on. Are you telling me that you met a really nice guy at work that you had lunch with and you like him? Maybe really like him?" A guilty expression flashed across her face, and she turned away from me, nodded her head, and said very quietly, "Yes." Suddenly, I didn't want an omelet or anything at all. In fact, I was starting to feel nauseous, but I had to keep talking. I threw the knife on the cutting board and put both hands on the table to keep from falling over. "How far did things go between you and this really nice guy?" There was a lot of tension in my voice, and she retreated to the counter. "Just had lunch every day for a few weeks and had dinner last week when you had that late-night business meeting." "Did you two hold hands, kiss? Do any heavy petting?" Her face went pale, and she nodded again. "We kissed." Disgusting bile was coming up my throat, and I was close to choking on it. "Did you have sex with him?" She glanced at me quickly and shook her head negatively. That stunned me, and I had to push back my chair and sit down. "So you haven't made love to him yet, but you plan to?" A curt nod. "I guess I am. He wants me to go away with him for the weekend." "And you're going?" "Yeah, I don't want to upset you, but I need to figure out what he means to me. I'm sorry, Brad. I know you're hurting, and I hate it. But I told him I'd go with him. I couldn't sneak out without telling you. We've always been so honest with each other about everything." "Can I ask where you two are going?" "Las Vegas." "Sharing a room, I assume?" "He says he booked a room. Big spender. He thinks very highly of me." "I'm sure he does. When are you leaving?" "Tomorrow morning." "Wow, you sure waited till the last second to tell me, huh?" "I waited before I hurt you because I had to be absolutely sure I needed to." I almost laughed, but it sounded more like a stifled sob. "That was very thoughtful of you, Anna. Does he know you're married?" "Yes, of course he does. I always wear wedding rings." "Do me a favor. Don't wear them when you're in his bed in Las Vegas." "Brad, I talk about you all the time when I'm with him." "Great. And I'm sure you've had lots of great things to tell him about me, like I'm as good a guy as he is, but I'm a little boring in bed and I leave nail clippings on the carpet and lots of other little negative things that made you leave me." She looked shocked. "I've never said anything bad about you, Brad. But not enough to stop you from going away with him for a sex-filled weekend. You love me, but apparently you haven't lately, have you?" "No. Oh, I don't know. I'm confused." "So you jump into the arms of a really nice man who knows you're married but doesn't care. This is me clarifying the circumstances so you don't get confused, right? A few days and nights in Vegas, in his arms and in his bed to clarify everything you feel about me and him, to let him take possession of your body, which, by the way, you promised exclusively to me years ago. Let him make love to you until you can't stand up." She did have a few tears rolling down her cheek. "I'm on the pill, Brad, so I don't need protection. Did your really good boyfriend get tested for STDs recently?" "He's not like that, Brad. He hasn't been with a woman in over 2 years." "That's what he says, but I'll bet you $1 million he hasn't. He goes after women, Anna. He sees a beautiful married woman and he wants her. It's the perfect game for guys like him. Steal a beautiful married woman and make love to her. Make the pathetic husband a cuckold. If I'm right and he hasn't been tested, you may find out that what happens in Vegas may not stay in Vegas. Something may follow you home in a very unpleasant way. Is this nice guy your boss? No, he's the boss of my bosses. So, you're really selling out, aren't you? There's no point in climbing the corporate ladder when you can use your body to slide up a rung that's a few scales above you. I don't know what I'm doing, Brad, but I want to find out, and how rude you're being to me isn't helping. I'm not going to help you go off with another man for a hot weekend in Vegas, Anna. Let me ask you something. If I beg you not to leave, if I get on my knees and beg you to stay here with me, will you do it? She dropped her eyes to the floor and shook her head. I can't, Brad. I told Stan I'd go with him, and I can't break my word. At least now I knew his name. Wow, I see. You can easily break the sacred vows you made to me 7 years ago, but you can't break your promise to Stan. Is that true? I'm sorry, Brad. I don't want to hurt you, but I have to do this for me. Please try to understand. I realized immediately that I had lost her, but my pain and suffering gave me an idea. A parting shot that wouldn't make her change her mind, but might make her think about what her actions would do to us. I stood up and turned toward the basement door. Wait here. I want to show you something. Then I'll get out of your way and you can get ready to go. I went down to the basement and rummaged around until I found the Halloween props I was looking for. Then I opened our wall safe, pulled out a piece of paper, took a hammer and some nails, and carried it into the kitchen. Anna looked at me like I had lost my mind when she saw me dragging the small wooden coffin we were using as Halloween decorations up the stairs. What was that for? Just to have a minute of fun. We've been together a long time, and before we're done, I want to show you something. I set the 3-foot wooden coffin on the kitchen table, dropping the ham and cheese I was working on off the cutting board onto the floor. It's a coffin. Well, a cheap Halloween prop, but it's still a coffin. Here's the lid that goes on the coffin. This is a hammer, and these are nails. When I showed her the hammer, she started to get nervous. And this, I said, showing her the paper I took out of the safe, is our marriage license. I opened the lid of the casket, put our certificate in there, and put the lid back on the casket. Brad, what are you doing? Put our marriage license back where you found it. Why, Anna? It doesn't mean anything anymore, does it? It's where it belongs, in the coffin, ready for burial. She started crying again. What are you talking about, Brad? It's proof that we're married. That after you walk out that door to be with Stan tomorrow, will no longer be true. Now she was starting to lose her mind. Brad, you don't know that. I don't know that. Oh yes, Anna, but I do know this. Your solution is to go away with Stan. My decision is to divorce you. Now sit down and listen for a minute. Our marriage license is in the coffin where it belongs. I took a nail and put it on the corner of the coffin lid. Bang, 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 bang! I drove it through the lid and into the coffin. The sound was so loud in this small room that it startled Anna, and she jumped up. This is the first nail. It represents the time you went to lunch and dinner with a really nice guy, Stan. I took another nail and put it on the next corner. Bah! 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 This is the second nail. It represents the passionate kisses you shared with really nice guy Stan. Anna's eyes were big and her mouth started to quiver as she looked at me. Bah! Bang! Bang! I hammered the third nail into the penultimate corner. This nail symbolizes your agreement to go away with really nice guy Stan to Vegas for the weekend. I picked up the last nail and applied it to the lid in the fourth and final corner of the coffin. Bang! I hit it once to get it firmly into the wood. That's the fourth nail, Anna. You've heard the expression about something being the final nail in the coffin lid. The nail that seals it for all eternity, that irrevocably completes the fate of whoever or whatever is inside. That last nail is only partially hammered in, but our marriage is in that coffin, So when you walk out that door in the morning to go to Las Vegas with that really nice guy, Stan, that last nail will be hammered into the coffin and our life together will be over, irreconcilably and irrevocably. That's not what you mean, Brad. You can't throw us away over one indiscretion. I'm not throwing us away, Anna. You are. I loved you with every fiber of my being. You are the most beautiful, sexiest woman I have ever known, and it has been an honor and a joy to have you as my wife for the past 7 years. No, I'm not the one leaving us. If I could, I would climb into that coffin with the proof of our marriage and be buried with it. Oh, and just to satisfy my curiosity and drive your dagger deeper into my heart, I have to ask. If I look in the luggage you're packing to take, will I find some linen that you bought just for this occasion? Anna didn't answer. She just continued to cry quietly, but the look on her face told me the answer. That's what I thought. I'm leaving right now. I don't want to be here to witness your final act of betrayal. I'll go back and get everything I need to get through the next couple weeks after you leave with Stan. If you have extra time in Vegas, though I suspect you'll be too busy warming Stan's bed to think about anything else. But still, you might think about what items in the house you'd like to keep. I won't be here when you get back, but my lawyer will contact you in a week or two. I grabbed my jacket, walked out the door, got in my car, and drove away. I had just experienced the worst night of my life, and I felt dead and completely numb. I had no idea where I was going, and I didn't care. I just needed to leave. I knew I couldn't hold anything in my stomach, so I found Motel 6 on the opposite side of town from the airport. I didn't want to be tempted to hang out in the departure area to see what a really nice guy Stan looked like. It didn't matter if he won, or at least I lost. My cell phone rang a few times, and the caller ID told me it was Anna, so I ignored it. The last thing I wanted was to hear more excuses for her turning her back on what I'd always thought was a beautiful marriage. I slept fitfully with thoughts of Anna screaming in bed while nice guy Stan made love to her. I was sure that before the weekend was over, he would learn all of Anna's little secrets. She has a very sensitive spot behind her knees that makes her insanely hot when you kiss there. She loves to have her feet massaged. I was always so sure that these secrets were just for me. What a stupid weakling I was if I believed I could hold her forever. I got up early, took a shower, put the same clothes back on, and went to the nearest Denny's for coffee and toast. That was it. As much as I tried not to think about what Anna was doing at the moment, I couldn't shake it off. I seemed to be trapped in some miserable vortex, seeing my wife, the one woman I thought would be with me forever, holding hands with Stan on the airplane, kissing him in the cab and hurrying through check-in so they could get to their room and start making love. I've heard people describe the level of pain they felt when they were cheated on, but I never realized how completely incapacitating it was. I waited until 8:30 to call my office to let my assistant know I would be out. She asked if I felt bad, and I said I did, but hopefully I'd be back to my old self by Monday. As I hung up, I noticed that I had at least a dozen missed calls from Anna, and upon checking further, I found another dozen text messages from her. I didn't delete them, but I didn't read them either. I noticed that the last text and call came at 7:45, and nothing after that, so I figured she'd stopped trying to contact me when she left to be with Stan, the wife-stealing asshole. I refused to call him a good guy since he was as far from that as possible. I knew I would find a way to get back at him when the time came. Just in case, I waited until 10:30 to go home and get what I needed to start my new life as a single man. As I pulled into the driveway and pushed the button to open the garage door, I saw that Anna's car wasn't there, and reality set in and hit me. She had probably gone to meet Stan so she wouldn't have to take a cab. I berated myself for trying to think that she might have changed her mind and stayed home. Face it, asshole, she dumped you. She got a better deal, a guy who will take her to Las Vegas and make love to her all weekend in a luxury suite. Now wake up and live your life. You may never find another woman as beautiful as her, but you'll find someone. Deep down, I didn't believe a word I said. The inside of the house was eerily quiet, and looking at it with the dazed eyes of a man with a broken heart, it seemed strange to me. It had seemed so warm and alive before, but now it seemed cold and lifeless. I walked through the kitchen and noticed that the pieces of cheese and ham I had dropped on the floor had been put away, and the coffin was no longer on the table. I figured it was probably in the trash can. I guess my little lesson didn't have much effect on Anna. I know lust is a powerful thing, and when you're curled up in its grip, it's hard to be rational. I walked up the stairs to the bedroom, wondering how long it would be before Stan was having sex with my wife on what used to be our marriage bed. I had to stop torturing myself like this. As I entered the room, I saw a coffin standing in the middle of the bed. The lid was ajar, with a crowbar lying next to it. Someone, probably Anna, had put a lot of effort into pulling out the nails. Out of curiosity, I looked further and found the marriage certificate I had locked inside, now lying between two pillows in the headboard of the bed. "I guess she didn't even want me to get that win," I said aloud. I turned to the dresser to get my underwear and socks, and there, on the table next to the window, were 3 beautiful and, I'm sure, very expensive sets of lingerie, cut up and strewn over the prettiest yellow negligee I'd ever seen. It was cut up, too. On top of it was a piece of paper with the words, "I cannot share things I don't own," written in black, felt-tip pen. "What?" I said out loud. I turned to the bed and saw the same piece of paper leaning against the coffin. "I cannot share that I don't have," was the same message written in the same black felt-tip pen. Then came the squeal of tires and the unmistakable sound of 2 cars colliding in front of the house. But before I could react, the front door swung open and a woman screamed, "Brad, where are you? Oh, God, please! Oh, please, Brad, you have to be here so I can tell you how wrong I was, how terribly stupid I was." I heard her run for the stairs, stumble, and fall halfway down. She was crying hysterically, and when she looked up and saw me standing on the top landing, she held out her arms to me and started to crawl up. In all our 7 years of marriage and 2 years of knowing each other before that, I had never seen her look this bad. She was wearing no makeup, her hair was a mess, her eyes were puffy and red, and she was wearing a Caltech sweatshirt, gray sweatpants, and a pair of fluffy bunny slippers I had bought for her as a joke one Christmas. "Anna, what are you doing? Where's Stan?" I asked her. She shook her head negatively and said, "I can't share what I don't own, Brad. That's what I told him." Stan. That's exactly what I told him when he came to get me. I can't share what I don't own. I was dressed exactly the same. He asked why I wasn't ready to go to Las Vegas with him, and I told him again that I couldn't share what I didn't own. He said, "What does that mean?" And I told him I would never go anywhere with him, never go anywhere with him, never talk to him again, because I don't have the body he wanted so badly. That body belongs only to my husband, and never ever to anyone else. I can't share what I don't own. Only my husband owns every inch of me, and I will never share it with anyone else. She continued to slowly creep toward me down the stairs. Brad. He called me names, told me I was a fool and a tease, and because of me he spent good money on airfare and a room at Aria. He said he was going to tell everyone at work that I was a cheater and get me fired. I told him he couldn't do that because I had already quit. He was so angry that his tires squealed for a whole block as he drove away. She finally made it to the landing, wrapped her arms around my ankles and hugged my legs. "I'm so embarrassed," she exclaimed. I had hurt the only man in the world who had proven over and over again how much he loved me and would do anything for me. I have violated the sacred trust of the man in whom my whole life lies. I am so sorry. And she cried. She held me like that for what seemed like an eternity, but undoubtedly only a few minutes. I was stunned, too stunned to move. The woman who was my life, who I worshipped with every breath, my Alpha and Omega, my beginning and end, had cruelly broken my heart. And now, half a day later, she was hugging my legs and sobbing. Every cell in my body wanted me to take her in my arms and tell her how much I loved her and that we would get through this terrible time, but I froze in place, unable to move. All the events of the last 15 hours ran through my head. In the back of my mind, I believed she hadn't consummated her relationship with Stan, but still, in my mind, she had betrayed me. A married woman does not have lunches and dinners with another man. A married woman does not share passionate kisses with another man. A married woman does not take or plan a vacation with her lover in Las Vegas. True, she came to her senses before any real damage was done, but she betrayed me nonetheless. I stood looking at the woman who had been my world until last night, and it was obvious that she was in as much pain as I was. Our marriage was teetering on the edge of a very dark abyss, and I wondered if we had the strength to keep going forward so we didn't fall off the edge. I bent down and lifted Anna to her feet, and we held each other until the sobs subsided. "Let's go make some coffee." "Thank you, Brad." "Oh, Brad," she whispered. "I think I wrecked your car when I was just pulling up to the house." "Yeah, I heard that. We'll talk about that too," I told her. I helped her down the stairs and into the kitchen. While we were having coffee, I asked her, "What made you change your mind? Last night you were so sure you should go with Stan. What changed?" She looked at me over her cup, dark eyes red and puffy. "You buried our marriage?" "What do you mean?" "You put our marriage license in that awful coffin and nailed the lid shut. After you left, I went upstairs, but all I could think about was our marriage certificate in that dark, horrible place. Our marriage was over. You had buried it. He was in a place where there was no air, no light, and he couldn't get out. And then I started thinking about all the wonderful things that witnessing had given us. Everything it meant to me. We were a team, so happy when we were together, and I thought about how happy you always made me. I must have dozed off because I dreamed I was in this coffin, in this dark place, and I felt like I was suffocating. It was so real that it woke me up, and I realized that I had to somehow take the lid off the coffin and bring our marriage back to where it could breathe, where I could breathe. She laughed lightly. "I never realized how well you hid your tools. It took me at least an hour to find the crowbar, and another half hour to drag the casket into the bedroom and lift the lid enough to get our certificate out. I felt obsessed. I had to get it out before you put the last nail in the coffin." "When did you decide not to go with Stan?" She giggled again, and the sound warmed my soul. "About 2 seconds after you walked out the door, I realized I could never go with Stan or anyone else. I felt so stupid and ashamed. How could I treat the only man I had ever loved the way I treated you? I tried calling you over and over again, but you wouldn't pick up. Then I started texting you, but that didn't work either. Much later, when I finally lifted the coffin lid so I could reach the certificate, I thought about how I would tell Stan that I never wanted to see him again. I took off all my makeup, pulled out your old Caltech sweatshirt and sweatpants and put them on. My eyes were already red and ugly from crying, and I wondered how beautiful I would seem to Stan when he saw me, the real me that you see all the time and you still love me. "You're the most beautiful woman I've ever known, Anna. Even now you look perfect to me." And when I realized I had to do everything in my power to get you back, to make you love me again. I hadn't packed much yet, but when I started unpacking, I saw the negligee, panties and bras I'd bought for the trip with Stan, and I broke down again. Suddenly, the mere sight of them made me sick to my stomach. They were the final expression of my betrayal, and I had to destroy them, so I took a pair of scissors and tore them all up. You know they cost a lot of money, but I couldn't look at them, so I destroyed them just as I think I destroyed you in our marriage. That's when I went over to where our marriage certificate was lying, picked it up and studied it. It's very simple. It said that Anna Stanford and Brad Connolly were joined in holy matrimony on June 12, 2005, and it was witnessed by my maid of honor and your best man. But as I looked at him, it all came back to me. We stood in front of all of our family and friends, and gave ourselves to each other. We vowed to be faithful to each other until death, and I cried again, realizing that I can't share myself with anyone but you. I can't share what I don't own, and that's what I told Stan when he came to get me. Thank you for telling me. You've given me a lot to think about. Do you think we'll get through this and everything will be okay? I don't know, Anna. I hope so, but right now I don't know. You almost killed me last night. I've never been in so much pain in my life. I felt so betrayed, so alone, so helpless. Do you have any idea what it's like to know that the one person in the world you love more than anyone else, the one person you've always trusted unconditionally, is choosing another man over you? She burst into tears again. Oh, Brad, I'm so sorry. I was out of my mind. I'll do anything to make it right, even die if it helps. It certainly won't. I want you alive and well, and more than anything, I want to trust you again. It won't be as hard as it could be. Because like you said, we've always been honest with each other. Even last night you told me how you felt. Brad, how I thought I felt. How you thought you felt. So what now, Anna? I don't know about you, but I didn't sleep well last night, and if you don't mind, I'd like to take you to bed with me. I don't know. Maybe it's too soon for that. We don't have to do anything, Brad. I just want to feel you next to me, in your rightful place. Her dark eyes were so pleading I couldn't refuse. Okay, Anna, but don't cuddle. I'm still mad at you. A tiny smile touched the corners of her mouth. Anything you say, darling. And she crossed herself, took my hand, and led me up the stairs to our room. Absolutely no nonsense. For several months, things went on as they were. No matter how hard I tried, there were times when that night flashed through my mind and I became sullen. Anna seemed to sense when those moments happened, and she filled me with love, crowding out all other thoughts. She did quit her job, and when her bosses and HR wanted to know why, she told them. Yes, she was embarrassed, but she needed to get rid of that feeling. Not too surprisingly, the head of HR told her that there had been 3 harassment complaints against Stan, a really nice guy, before that, and to make a long story short, he ended up with no job and no references. Anna not only kept her job, but they gave her a pretty substantial amount of money to promise not to sue the company. She worked there after that for about 6 months because we discovered that we were about to become parents. Oh yes, of course. As soon as Anna carried me up the stairs and into our bed that day, well, I guess it's understandable. The end. Subscribe to my channel. Thank you.